This tiny Tokyo apartment is, well, different. Now, from the outside, you wouldn't even be able to tell. It's quite unassuming, almost even normal. But then you walk inside the building and you are greeted by, well, this. Each of the units we're gonna see today are really unique. But they're actually two separate staircases and they lead to completely different places. So if you take the wrong one, you'll never get where you wanna go. So if you come home inebriated or a little extra tired, you'll never get to your house. But there are elevators and they're color coded. You see the green elevator here leads up to the fancy room and then the red elevator here leads to what we'll call the affordable rooms. And that's the side we'll start on today, but we gotta take the stairs, right? Also, the staircase is completely opposite to the elevator. So that's fun and completely not confusing at all, but this place is gorgeous and it kind of feels like the silo from GoldenEye. This is actually what it looks like up at the top. There's this giant pole here, which kind of blocks your view the way down. To get from the bottom to the top is 13 floors and took me a total of, actually it was pretty quick, maybe about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Probably would have been faster if it wasn't like the 7th time I've done it. And despite going all the way up there, we're actually right here on the 2nd floor. So at first look, this room seems very normal, but has several hidden features. And 1 or 2 puzzles we need to solve. Now it's Japan, so we start here by taking off our shoes, and right here in the entrance is what I thought was closet space originally was actually a hookup for your washing machine, your breakers up there. Now, this space does feel disproportionately large, especially considering the size of the rest of the room. Let me show you this. So as we go into the room itself, you notice that there's this big curved wall along the side, which makes the room a bit of a weird shape and challenging to use. So they've just plunked this here closet slash storage unit very awkwardly just right here. It has definitely got some depth to it, and the average Japanese person might even consider this to be huge, but I don't know if this size is a plus or a minus solely because of the amount of space that it takes up in the room. Like with the camera right up against the wall, this is all the space you have between here and here. Like, you could lay down. Technically it works. I wonder. That is exactly 3 meters by 2.5 meters. But our first big puzzle for the day is where and how would you lay out your bed? Which is definitely not a problem in the next unit we're checking out, which is a massive contrast to this one. So this is the room as a whole, assuming that this would be your living space. Also, the wide angle lens does not change the size of the room. See? Punching in, it's the same size, you just see less of it. You have a little kitchen space over here with an induction heater, tiny countertop and sink. You've got storage below. This is your tiny little fridge. And then this here, I'm guessing just plunks right open like that with a switch for all that. Okay. This one has what's called a unit bath. This is literally just one big plastic capsule that gets installed in here, and they can be a challenge to clean. Sometimes you actually have to remove these panels right here. Otherwise it gets really moldy inside. But some of the newer ones are really neat because they'll have like a dryer function built in so you can hang your clothing and just dry it in there. I did a whole video where I showed that in Sherry's apartment. I will link that up above somewhere. Now you do have your own little balcony space. And as you can see up here, people will hang their clothing, but oh boy, are these lower floors noisy. You're right near a major road and a highway, about 20 minutes from Ikebukuro Station by foot. And in here, you'll have your emergency escape ladder, which will attach to here, and then you can, I guess, escape. But especially considering the fact that this is so far from the station on foot, it's much more expensive than I was expecting. We'll cover that in just a second. But check this out. So this right here is just your normal intercom for the front door, but this right here, I've never seen one of these before, and it took me just a minute to figure out exactly what it was without using Google Lens. Any guesses? Okay, what's your guess? Write it down below. I will answer in 3, 2. If you're anything like me, you would see the band and the channel and everything, and you'd be like, oh, it's a radio. And you would kind of be right, but you would also be completely wrong. You see, nowadays we've got Hulu and Netflix and all of these things, and this was that for music, but 30 years ago. This is a streaming box for music that gave access to some 70 channels, and I had to kind of search around the apartment to figure out, well, where does the sound come out of? Because you see, there are no speakers anywhere in the entire apartment. These over here are lights, and then this down here is an air conditioner unit, an actual kind of rare and interesting one. You've got this right down here, which is just a vent for airflow. And then when I looked over here, I noticed that we had a port here for fiber optic hookup. We had our plugs here, and then right here beside the TV hookup, there are actually speaker and audio hookups right here. And this apartment is nearly 40 years old. This is so cool. You should have seen the nerdy smile on my face when I found that for the first time. I'm still smiling like an idiot. But aside from this, one of my favorite features is just how tall the ceilings in this place are. The ceilings in here are actually so high that I can barely touch them even if I jump. Now, the question is, where do we put the bed? With this much vertical space, I think your best bet would be having one of those kind of bunk beds where the bed is actually up here. You have a desk here, maybe a little dresser or something there. If you do it well enough, you could probably even just completely get rid of this thing over here if they let you. A lot of Japanese apartments are very, very strict about what you can and can't do. Can't put holes in the walls, can't hang things on the wall. It's wildly strict. But how would you use this space? Okay, so this next unit is wild, but it's up on like the 12th floor, so I'm gonna take the elevator. So while the red side of the building has 4 units per floor, the green side only has 2. And this one right here, this is our unit, and this place is actually so big and luxurious. How are these in the same space? Well, okay, maybe we'll start over this way, starting right in here, where you have your massive bath and shower room. And these doorways are incredibly huge. This feels kind of excessive by Japanese standards. And that's actually just a really nice bath and shower though. Like, this is what you get in here. And this has to be one of the biggest baths I've seen in Japan. Definitely one of the nicest showers. And oh boy, do I love this shower. If I ever renovate, I want something like this in my place. But it doesn't stop here. In fact, it barely starts. This is by far the single largest toilet I have ever seen in the country of Japan. Look at the size of this. I have been in apartments that are quite literally smaller than this lavatory toilet. It is just so unnecessarily large. I feel like I'm in a fun house at a carnival, and this doorway here is just gigantic. It feels like the giant level of Mario, where that toilet seat also just magically went up because we're in Japan. And then that brings us into the main room. Actually, I lied. No, it doesn't, because there's a whole bedroom over here. And this is kind of what I was talking about with the other. I don't think this is not a bed space. It's just, I don't think it can support your weight. It's just meant to be a closet space. And then looks like this opens up here. There we go. Also, that's only balcony space number 1. Let's count them. So the previous unit was a rental unit for around 75,000 yen a month. With the current exchange rate, that's somewhere give or take 500 USD. This is not a rental unit. It is purchase only. And that is a fireplace right there. But the question is, can you guess how much this unit costs? And that is a solid door. Okay, that's actually got some good soundproofing to it. That feels a little unsturdy there. And this is balcony number 2, by the way, if you're keeping track. The chandeliers and lighting feel just a little bit over the top. Also, hilarious, balcony number 3 is directly beside balcony number 2 and is yet divided by a concrete wall. Like, you can see the other balcony right over here, but something tells me this is probably a load-bearing pillar. And how much of the rooftop can you see right now? But you've got a beautiful view of Ikebukuro here. You can see Shinjuku off there in the distance, and there's two buildings here I really love. Number one is this little yellow guy right here, and number two is this one here with just the random blue Japanese rooftop. I like you. Also, I just noticed that there's a pink house right beside the yellow house. I hope they're at least friends. Big old kitchen. I absolutely love it, but there's one feature right over here that I have questions about. See, while this kitchen is one of my favorite styles, which kind of divides kitchen space and living space and you can communicate, it also seems to have a dishwasher, which is not super common in Japan, but there's still no, there's like your stovetop and no oven outside of the little fish grill right here. All of these seem like fairly standard things to have in a kitchen. However, right down here in the corner, you've got these hookups for a Japanese TV. Is that for your kitchen TV? Would you put a TV right here in the kitchen? Also, these windows, I cannot stop chuckling about these windows because it's like they just kept making it smaller, and I don't think this was intended to be the original size of this little window. I don't know, does that feel intentional to you? Just there's so many, it just doesn't feel intentional to me. Can we just take a second though to appreciate the size and scale of this place? But as you may have noticed from the spiral staircase, this is certainly not all to this place. There's at least one really nice surprise upstairs. So who remembers the skinny triangle building and the tiny narrow staircase in that? This stairwell feels, well, obviously so much more open and oddly stable than that one, and leads up to a space that I would almost certainly use as an office. So this is the space that you get right here. It has these giant bay windows. Now, believe it or not, this is actually the worst part of the top floor, and these, I still maintain that I would use this as an office space, but still totally doable as a bedroom. The stairs are a bit of a pain in the... By far my favorite part of this unit has to be balcony number 4. It's a rooftop balcony and it's absolutely massive, and it has a shower. There's like, look how big this is. This is gonna be double the space of that tiny unit. It's just, check this out. So you've got this entire space up here, which could even be used to host your own little pool, because there's an extra shower space right up here. Something tells me that when this building was built, this one didn't exist. I don't think there was at that time anybody who could just look in on you showering, but it could be curtained off in some way and you'd still have this massive open space here. I kind of want to live here. Unlimited usage possibilities. You would be able to hold parties up here. It would just be glorious. Then honestly, if it wasn't for the location and how far it is from the station, I would actually almost consider a place like this. But have you figured out just how much this place costs? Now, as we covered earlier, while the other one is a rental, this one is purchase only and is just under 90 million yen. With the current exchange rate, that's somewhere between $600,000 and $700,000 US. Now, I actually really love the size and shape and layout of this place, and if it wasn't 20 minutes from the station to be in central Tokyo, that's not a terrible price. I would absolutely love to hear what you think, but the real gem of this place is obviously this wild and crazy, amazing set of stairs right here. I love the design. You know, I've actually spent probably the better part of an hour today just going up and down these steps. It is so much fun and I just can't stop looking down. I know it might give vertigo to some of you, and for that I deeply apologize, but I love it. I would love to hear your thoughts. Please leave them down below. Thank you so much for joining today, and you know I will see you again real soon. Oh, I love it down there.